again, second week in a row here for Mach 10. Hope you enjoyed last week's discussion on UL 924. This week, we're going to be talking about outdoor lighting controls, the various means and methods of going about it, wired versus wireless, the advantages and disadvantages of each, and how complex or simple you can make a system. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jim, and hope you guys enjoy. Again, if you have questions, leave them in the chat. If you want to stick around afterward to talk, we'll be here. If you want to hop off, free to do that too. Go for it, Jim.
All right, so let's begin here. I assume I'm off mute. Is that correct, Drew?
You are off mute.
All right. Well, I'm starting off to a better start this week. And this week is a little bit shorter, so I'll just get started. We're going to talk about the outdoor lighting controls, choosing wired versus wireless for your project. Have a couple different approaches for you. Relay panels for your wired, and then wireless. Two different offerings from both Hubble and Lutron. With Lutron's relay panels, of course, you have time clocks built into each panel. They're feed through, or you can get branch circuit breakers in the relay panels. They range from 8 to 48 relays and multiples of 4, and they are all non-dim. Typical 120, 277, but there is 280, 208, and 480 applications. With Lutron, you can link up to 16 panels and 32 wall stations. And if you do have a bigger project than that, there is an expansion module that you can specify that can give you 3 links of capacity. For the emergency, just like what we went over last week, the Lutron has the Lut ELI that can be used that turns a emergency panel into emergency mode and then goes to your set emergency level, or you can use switch bypasses on the load side of the relays. For the wireless control from Lutron, we have a Limelight. You have 2 different gateways. You have an Ethernet-based gateway, so connect right to the LAN network of the building, or you have a cellular option. With the cellular option, there's 5 years of cellular data included with the gateway, and that's provided by Verizon. The gateways have time clocks. Like most exterior wireless systems, it is a mesh network. 2400 megahertz is the range that Lutron is in. You can do up to 800 radio sensor modules per gateway. And what that means is your fixtures are shipped with a radio and sensor. The sensor, you don't need a sensor in it, but you definitely need the radio to talk back to the gateway itself. They're integrated into the fixtures. 0 to 10 volt is the dimming protocol. You can also have it as non-dim also. There is an external mount sensor that you can use onto either existing fixtures, or if a fixture doesn't have the option for the sensor radio from the factory. The modules are both motion and daylight sensing. The RF ranges are pretty typical with most wireless networks. you want to have 3 nodes within 50 feet in a garage, or 150 in a parking lot. Basically, that's so that you can start your mesh network between the 3 and then let it grow out from there. But the furthest distance you can have is 500 feet away from the gateway. And that is pretty much the standard through different wireless systems. Touch base on what Hubble has to offer. We have the CX relay panel. Again, time clock, astronomical, and time of day included in there. The one thing about Hubble, you can go down to a 4 relay panel. It's totally standalone. So if you're just doing a couple circuits, perfect fit. All are feed through from the 4 relay panel up to 24 and multiples of 8. You can do dimming with this relay panel, 0 to 10 volt. A dimming card can be added. Again, like Lutron 12277, 208, and 480. The difference with Hubble, their 208 and 480 2-pole relay, it fits in the same physical space as their standard 12277 volt relay. The major difference is, though, you can only link 2 panels together from Hubble. So very, smaller jobs, a better fit. For emergency, Hubble has a UL924 relay, the 3LEM. So when the panel loses power to the processor, the 3LEM relay goes closed to continue power through from your emergency source. So that meets the UL924, or you can use a switch bypass device on the load side of the relay. For parking lot, Hubble has a pretty easy solution. 7-pin receptacle on top of the fixtures. Hubble has multiple fixtures that have that option, and then basically you can use the app for programming. So very simple. You can group fixtures together. You can leave them standalone. You can create your time clock through the app, and of course the node has a photo cell in it. 0 to 10 volt dimming, so that you can lower lights at certain times of the evening if you wanted to, based on time. So very simple to use, very simple to program, and makes life pretty easy for the end user. Their garage option, it can be done through NX. Basically, there's a couple different ways to do it. You can do it with a area controller, or you can do it with an app. The area controller gives you more functionality with it, including tying into BACnet. But you could also do front of house type of spaces in a parking garage, so lobbies, things of that nature, either through a relay panel, or you could even tie in some aux sensors into the room controllers where the wireless module talks to the system via a Cat5 cable, but wirelessly to all of your fixtures on the parking decks. If you have a rooftop that you have pole-mounted fixtures, we would use the 7-pin receptacle on those and talk to a radio module from there and get that into the system. Again, mesh network, 2.4 gigahertz, 512 sensor modules per floor of a parking garage. Again, Hubble has a bunch of fixtures that can be shipped with the radio and sensor built in. 0 to 10 volt dimming or non-dim. Again, you can have a retrofit sensor onto a exterior of a fixture if it's existing. And again, the sensor is both motion and daylight, just like Lutron. And that's pretty much it. Very simple. So any questions?
I do not see any questions in the chat. Feel free to speak up, guys, if you have any questions, comments. All right, here we go. What's the most inexpensive way to do exterior lighting controls? Relay.
Yeah. Just
Relay
a simple relay panel. Yes.
Yeah. That's your bare bones. That's what you need to that's what you need to spec to meet code to make them turn on and off at a certain time or via photocell. Anybody else? And he mentioned, will that include time clock and photocell as mentioned?
That's correct.
Yes. We have another question. What about meeting IECC reductions? Hold on here. What's less expensive for meeting IECC?
Probably your wireless, because you can set up a lot more scheduling through that.
Yeah, and you can achieve the daylighting on the perimeter as well for garages, and it's actually easier to group through that app and through a mesh network than trying to zone it wired. Right, Jim?
Yeah, because whenever you have the wired through a relay panel, contractor has to go through and group all the daylight zone together. If it's wireless, you can just group them, wirelessly, so that the EC can just pull one circuit basically and pick up a mess of fixtures and not have to worry about how they're going to be controlled.
Next question we have, what is the difference between adding a time clock to the regular panel instead adding control panel for exterior?
So a standard like torque time clock, I'm guessing, and to a contactor. Really no different, other than if you want some wall controls or a daylight sensor, a little bit easier for the contractor and to actually do some of the programming of that.
We have another question. Is this compatible with other systems, possibly in lighted controls? No, that'd be a different protocol. Correct, Jim?
Yes. Yeah. The manufacturers typically, it might still be the same RF frequency, but they are controlling the back end of it. The only way you could integrate things possibly is through BACnet.
Right. And Jose asked, when do you recommend proposing the wireless exterior controls? So, Jim, maybe I'll take this one. I think that if the budget is there for it, you do it because it's more robust. The end user experience is it's better, and the programming is better. So also the energy savings is better because you're able to integrate the daylight control on the perimeter. You're able to adjust time clocks as the seasons change, and so you're able to save more energy. and more money for the end user. And Jim, if you want to add anything to that.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, it makes it easier and probably more cost effective up front, just for wiring and, pulling wire and conduit. With wireless, you can pretty much have a blank slate and go in and just create zones and things of that nature, and change it flexibility wise for changing if the owner decides that they want, certain fixtures grouped together for some reason. It's a lot easier to do because you don't have the conduit and wire that you're locked into.
Yeah, installation, right. Sandy asked, can you share the presentation? So for all of you, we will have this, will we have the presentation live or just the links and products that we discussed live?
I think Christina sent it out last week. We can touch base. And
Brian, do you have the link to this presentation that you can let us know where to find that?
Yeah, I can share that. I believe it's on our website and also on the SharePoint, but I'll send you a link.
Could you share it in the chat? Could you share the link in the chat so everyone
I'll pull it up and share that in the chat.
Perfect, thanks.
Grab that.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? I mean, pretty straightforward stuff. Do you need a specific driver for the fixture when specifying wireless controls? Just 0 to 10, and the control will then be tied into the 0 to 10 volt driver within that fixture, if it's integral. Sorry, Jim, I keep answering these for you.
That's all right. You're doing a fine job, Drew.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the link is in the chat.
Perfect. John Walker just asked, if an existing parking lot is relay controlled, can the 7-pin connector be added to each luminaire for dimming control? That depends.
Yeah, you could definitely add it, and it would control that, have it control that fixture head, and you could still run the time clock off the relay panel if you really wanted to turn lights off at certain times. So yeah, you can get away with doing that.
Yeah, you could use the NX. You could use the NX 7-pin receptacle and then program whatever dimming protocols you want through the app.
Yep.
But you'd be dependent upon the relay. I mean, the relay obviously is controlling its contact, right? So, whether it's on or off is up to the relay. And then from there, when it's on, you could control what it does through the app, but you'd be limited to the hours in which the relay allows it to be on. Any other questions? That was a good question. Thanks, John. You're welcome. Okay. Good questions. Good presentation. I think that's about it. Again, if you guys have any questions further beyond this, contact your OneSource salesperson. Happy to help out. We love doing what we do. And if that's it, have a great weekend. We'll see you all next Friday.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right.